I'm in my 4th year now. I'm doing an intercalated BSc degree at the moment, but I'll be back to medicine in year 5 and the year after that for finals. So anatomy is pretty much a early stage thing. So I did an exam for anatomy in year 1 and I did an anatomy exam in year 2, and then I pretty much haven't touched it since. So you'll do this a lot in your early years and then kind of leave it behind. And I'm going to talk a little bit more how to make revision easier for you in about under 3 minutes. So if you want a quick, short, bite-sized video for your revision, this is probably it. Quick note at the start, anything that I talk about I'm not being sponsored on, so if I say it's good, it's because I've used it myself and it genuinely is good. So yeah, just a quick mention. First thing to understand is what the exam is. It's most likely going to be an image occlusion or spotter. So that's basically an exam where they will give you an image of an anatomy dissection or prosection, a label to a particular area, and say, what is this vessel? What is this structure? 95% or 90% I'd say of the questions are going to be that. The other 5 or 10% will be questions that are simple one-liners. Name the nerve that controls this, or name the function of this organ. So those are 2 kind of questions that you're going to get. Much more of the spotter kind of questions and a very few sort of one-liner questions. How to revise. Number 1 is you need to be familiar with the anatomy, obviously. So the first thing is that when you're revising anatomy, I always say don't revise it from textbooks that just have text in them. Always revise from visual atlases. Things like Rohen's is really good. Rohen's is like this PDF textbook that you can get online. It's got spotter images from every prosection. I would highly recommend starting off with that. And then in terms of reading up the background, there are loads of textbooks out there, but I think they bog you down with a load of unnecessary information. I would revise off 2 resources. Number 1, KenHub. It's fantastic for things like learning anatomy. It gives you quizzes in spotter style questions. And number 2, Teach Me Anatomy. This is a fantastic website. I pretty much relied on it for my anatomy exams and it served me really well. It's got like a little bit of information, extra information on each topic. The information it gives you is highest yield. So it's the most important information that you'll need to remember. So I think it's fantastic. I would say it's the best resource out there. And then KenHub is a close second. KenHub, you have to pay for a subscription, I think, to get the most out of it, and it's quite expensive, so again, that's up to you. But the free version is really good as well. You won't get as many things out of the question bank. Teach Me Anatomy is pretty much free. There's a question bank again that I think you have to pay for, but it's much more worth its value for money. Video textbooks are also really useful if you can find them online, and yeah, that's what I'd say to build your base off. And the second bit of anatomy revision is testing yourself. So again, I would recommend doing spotter questions sort of as your majority based thing, and then doing sort of one-liner questions if you want to do those. Those one-liner questions, I'd recommend getting them from your year group or from people who are in the same university as you, because they'll know what the syllabus is and they'll have made questions tailored to that. And then for spotter questions, there are loads of resources out there. So I would recommend something called Michigan's Blue Atlas. They've got a fantastic Anki deck available for you and you can use that. It's brilliant. It's got sort of flashcards with images of anatomy and then labels, and all you do is go through them. They're really good. I really recommend doing them. Also, KenHub is fantastic. KenHub have got like a spotter style thing. It's not exact images, but they've got stuff like images of various muscles and vessels, and they'll train you really well. It's fantastic. I don't think a lot of people talk about it because it's quite expensive, but it's worth it if you struggle with anatomy. It's really good. I found anatomy difficult. I did KenHub and I completely turned it around, so I really think it's good. So the Teach Me Anatomy question bank is really good for the one-liners. So it will give you, it won't give you spotters, but it'll give you one-liners on key pieces of information on a question bank. It's fantastic. I would use it for the one-liners. There are also Reddit pages which are fantastic. They've got an Anki files full of Rohen's Anatomy Atlas sort of Anki cards. So those are really good. So go out on Reddit, on Anki pages, search up anatomy spotter cards, Anki. They're really good. If you don't use Anki, this is not be all or end all. Quizlet and Brainscape have fantastic resources as well. They've got loads of anatomy spotter cards, and this is all I would really do. So a summary, one-liners, I would use people in the year above you, and also Teach Me Anatomy question bank, that's fantastic. Teach Me Surgery is also quite good. It gives you a little bit more of clinical application, but you can use it. And for your spotters, I would use number 1, Michigan's Anatomy, fantastic resource. Number 2, KenHub, and number 3, Reddit, Anki, Brainscape, Quizlet decks that you can find. One other thing that I want to add on is in anatomy, they can test you on radiographic sort of information. So they can bring up like a chest x-ray and ask you what it's showing. This won't be stuff like identifying a subdural hemorrhage, for example, on a CT scan, but it'll be stuff like pointing to a rib on a chest x-ray and being like, what rib is this? Or pointing to an organ on a head MRI and saying, what is this? Or finally, whenever you're doing a spotter, I always do this 3-question technique. When I've looked at an organ on a spotter and I've identified it correctly, in my head, I'll always think, what supplies this organ, so what blood vessels supply, what nerves supply this organ, also what's the function. If you test these 3 things for everything that you do in a spotter, you will pretty much ace every anatomy exam that you do. Don't just think about what this is, think about the wider questions, because that's what they're going to ask you. Cool, so hopefully that helped you a little bit today and gave you a brief sort of summary. I wish you the best of luck for your revision, and I'll see you all in the next video. See you in a bit.